Now, there has been this ridiculous assertion that intelligence agencies, it's a talking point. We're all not new to intelligence agencies, think tanks, putting out propaganda, disinformation, and misinformation to shape public opinion and to shape narratives. We're all not ignorant to that very fact. And one talking point that has been put out about me is she wants to be famous. That's why she's doing all this. She's doing all this because she wants to be famous. She's talking about racism for the very simple fact is because she wants to be famous. So let's go ahead and unpack that. If I wanted to be famous, there are other ways to do that, right? I mean, if I wanted to be famous, all I had to do was align with the prevailing order or to align with the dominant society's opinion on things, or to align with everybody speaking out against one state and taking the position of another, which I didn't do. If I wanted to be famous, all I had to do was chase a career that would bring me fame instead of put me under scrutiny by government officials, right? That would have brought me fame, or at least brought me close to it, or somewhere within the vicinity of it. So this argument that I want to be famous is really a charge that is launched against academic researchers and political activists to undermine, and I would even argue, a charge launched against victims of racism to undermine their experience with racism and to silence their voice altogether. By me wanting to bring my complaints and make them public is not seeking fame. It's to bring transparency to the illegal actions, to the state crimes. There is evidence that demonstrates that strategic exposure compels reluctant decision makers to make swift and corrective action. Because my circumstance has not been made public, other than my bringing it public to myself, being that no one else has advocated on my behalf, has allowed it to continue. Had the Michael Martin, the Taoiseach in the Republic of Ireland, had he denounced transnational repression when I was living in the Republic of Ireland in Cork, I probably would not have been going through this length of time. And I probably would have not understood that this was transnational repression had he denounced it when it first occurred. Public scrutiny makes it much harder for intelligence agencies to continue to carry out their illegal actions. So when someone says you just want to be famous, essentially what they're saying is that you want to bring your perpetrators to justice, and that shouldn't happen. And so to reiterate, this is a talking point that has been circulated around in Belfast and of course in my home country that I want to be famous by speaking out against the issues that I'm speaking out against. And I disagree 100%. What I do is I look at how other people have captured the spotlight, and I ask myself, how did they capture the spotlight? And I am able to understand how they did it, and I'm able to understand how by bringing the spotlight to those very issues that they complain about actually protects those persons. To be sure, let's look at a couple people that have captured the spotlight. Same thing with Muhammad Khalil, who has at least, I think, like 10 lawyers working on his case. Had he never had legal representation in the United States, he probably would have already been deported back to Jordan or deported back to the Middle East. But the ACLU and other human rights organizations took on his case, and that put some guardrails on the state's power to protect him from being deported and to protect him, his legal rights. To be sure, Khalil is bringing a civil suit against the U.S. government. Multiple civil suits. I think he's brought 2 civil suits against the U.S. government. One civil suit is under the Ku Klux Klan Act, conspiracy to deprive him of rights. And then I forget what the other civil case, the causes of action that he brings under that. And my mentioning this is not about advocating for Palestine or advocating, this is not about advocating for Palestine or advocating for Israel or, being an opponent of Palestine or being an opponent of Israel. This is about the right to legal representation, which Mahmoud Khalil and Mohsen Madawi has in the United States of America. And that's not to argue, ladies and gentlemen, that just because these two have legal representation in the United States, that the First Amendment is protected and that there isn't structural or institutional racism in the United States of America. Because there is. And in the United States of America, many people, especially Black Americans, go without legal representation. And I think what's so unfortunate, we'll talk about this in another video. We don't have enough time to go into this in this live stream because there still needs to be research done on it. But I think what's so unfortunate is that the popular cases are the cases that are given the most attention, or the popular cases are those cases that are the cases where all the solicitors flock to. For example, here in Belfast, we had Phoenix Law Solicitors, who is a human rights firm. They took on the case of Kneecap, which is a Irish singing band or a rap band, so a rap group. So it's Kneecap. And there was also another case that they took. And these cases got the attention of solicitors because one, both of the clients, so you had Kneecap, and I forget the other guy's name, that's a singer in the United Kingdom. Bobby something. His name is similar to Bobby Sands, but it's Bobby something. So you had him and you had Kneecap, they were able to get legal representation because one, they had deep pockets. They had a lot of money. They have a lot of money. And then two, their cases were thrusted into the media. So with Kneecap was able to get their charges dismissed. And then Bobby was able to get his charges dismissed as well. And now he's suing the BBC for defamation. And that was only made possible because of their celebrity status. So this argument that, Quianna, you're seeking fame and you're seeking celebrity, well, look at what is coming to celebrities in the spotlight. They're getting justice. You have popular people like Mahmoud Khalil. You have Mohsen Madawi. You have Kneecap and Bobby. All these people were thrusted into the spotlight. And they weren't thrusted into the spotlight for doing something that could be perceived as, it wasn't like they were thrusted into the spotlight by doing something that was noble, right? You couldn't say, okay, well, the reason why they were thrusted into the spotlight is because they carried out a very noble act. No, all of these people were thrusted into the spotlight because their actions were looked upon by the government as either against the law, or it was looked at by the government as infamous and possibly, against some legislation, a breach of some legislation. And when they were thrusted into the spotlight, that allowed their case, the very fact that they were thrusted into the spotlight allowed other people to see their plight, and allowed solicitors to hear their plight, and for solicitors to flock to their case. So going back to the argument that I want to be famous, or I want to, or I want the spotlight on me. No, I want their actions to stop. And if it takes me being thrusted into the spotlight for their actions to stop, then so be it. But what does it say about the people who say that I want fame? Last year, when I did the Mimicking McCarthyism series, but there was a video that was not part, I believe it was not part of the Mimicking McCarthyism series. I talked about techniques of neutralization. And let's go over that again. There are these techniques of neutralization that people, like those that say that I want the spotlight or that I want to be famous, that they use to justify my victimization. And that is denial of injury. And basically their argument is that, oh, you're exaggerating. You're not really persecuted. You're not really a person who has experienced harm. You're used to violence. You're used to this happening. You should be used to it. Why are you complaining about it? Why do you want people to talk about this? Why do you want attention on this? Aren't you used to being mistreated by now? So that's denial of injury. Second is denial of victim. Oh, you started it. It's your fault. Like, you're the one that started it. You started talking about transnational repression. You researched incidents in direct provision. You started this. You filed an international protection claim against the United States. It's your fault. You talked about the Magdalene laundries in your independent research paper. So, because you talked about that, we're the real victims, not you. Denial of responsibility. Well, they would argue, well, we're just following orders. We're only doing what we are told. I'll try and link that video to the description box below, where I argue that people sometimes do what they're told to absolve themselves of the responsibility of acknowledging my victimization. I'm only doing my duty. Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having battery issues, so just hold on for just a moment. Sorry about that. Yeah, so denial of responsibility. Condemnation of the condemners. Okay, so this is, well, you're the real person that is a troublemaker. You're a troublemaker. You can't keep your mouth shut. You're violent or you're aggressive. I'll give you an example. When I tried to get legal representation at Phoenix Law, when I was starting to learn, this is when I first, when I was in the Republic of Ireland, toward the ending of my stay there, is when I started to learn about transnational repression and started to understand that I was being put through transnational repression. And when I came to Northern Ireland, so I fled to Northern Ireland, and I tried to get legal representation at Phoenix Law, there was a receptionist that said that she was frightened by me because I was complaining about transnational repression. And see, you know what this does is it takes the responsibility off of the victimizers and the agents of persecution and puts it on the victim. Because in that during that situation, I kept saying, I'm afraid that this is happening. I'm so afraid that I'm going through transnational repression. I just need legal representation. And she argued that she was afraid of me. Don't you see how like ludicrous that was? Like, and if that is ever disputed, what I can do is I'll show you the evidence. I can upload the video. But during that entire time, I was afraid because, again, I was learning that this was transnational repression. I knew the typology and knew exactly, what was happening and didn't know how far they would go. And so I sought legal representation from Phoenix Law, hoping that they would take on my case. And in this particular situation, the receptionist, she made it about her. She didn't take time to stand back and say, okay, like, what is transnational repression? Okay, she has, she does have reason to fear this practice. No, she made it about her, and it had nothing to do with her. So that's condemnation of the condemners. Lastly, another technique of neutralization that is used is appeal to a higher authority, such as we're appealing to national security. We're trying to keep everyone in Northern Ireland safe. Quianna, Canada is the one that's making Northern Ireland unsafe. Or appealing to a higher authority. Well, these intelligence agencies are so knowledgeable, and they've been doing this for a very long time. They know whether or not there is any merit to what Quianna, Canada has to say. You can see this is like appealing to a higher authority. And my argument during this entire time, ladies and gentlemen, is that that specifically the actions of the Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, to me, demonstrates that they hope that the accretions of oppression will lead to radicalization. That's my personal opinion.